Assalamu alaikum viewers. I hope you all are fine and doing well. Today we are going to discuss P.B. Shelley and his most famous poem, Ode to the West Wind. P.B. Shelley was a renowned English poet and a key figure in the Romantic literary movement. He was born on 4th August 1792 in England and grew up in a wealthy and politically active family. In 1816, he was married to Mary Godwin, who later became famous as the author of Frankenstein. And Shelley produced a remarkable body of poetry during his short period of time. Some of his notable works include Ozymandias, Adonais, and Ode to the West Wind. Shelley held strong radical and libertarian beliefs, advocating for various social and political reforms such as the freedom of press and equal rights for the women. Actually, he had radical ideas, and due to that radical ideas, he faced social and legal challenges in the England. He spent much of his later life in Italy, then when where he tragically died in a boating accident on 8th July 1822 at the age of 29. His poetry and ideas greatly influenced subsequent generations of poets and writers, and he remains an important and influential figure in English literature to this day. His most famous writing, Ode to the West Wind, was written in 1819, and this poem consists of 5 stanzas that were written in terza rima. Through vivid and imaginative language, Shelley explores the themes of mortality, inspiration, and the cyclical nature of life and death. In this ode, Shelley addresses the powerful force of nature represented by the west wind. The west wind, often associated with autumn and change, serves as a symbol of transformation and the poet's desire for a radical and transformative power to inspire change in the world. एक्चुअली वीडियो जो है वो बहुत ज़्यादा लंबी हो रही थी, इसलिए मैंने इस वीडियो के अंदर सिर्फ 2 ही स्टैंजास को डिस्क्राइब किया है. सो द फर्स्ट स्टैंजा in the first stanza, the poet is addressing to west wind by describing its activities. He says that wind is the symbol of change, and wind is personified as a living being by calling it breath of autumn. He says that wind drives away the dead leaves as a magician drives away a ghost by his approach, and poet uses the symbol of dead leaves to show the dead traditions and the dead customs that are lost today. People of his age has no morals. He gives the description of different colors of the leaves, for example yellow, black, pale, and hectic red, and says that they are dead of an infectious diseases. He describes the dual role of west wind. It is a destroyer as well as preserver. डिस्ट्रॉयर कैसे है? डिस्ट्रॉयर ऐसे है कि इट डिस्ट्रॉयज द डेड लीव्स दैट वर प्रेजेंट ऑन द ट्रीज. And how it is a preserver in a sense that it preserves the seeds by carrying them in its carryout, buried them into the mud, and preserves them for the next spring. The winged seeds shows that seeds are scattered all around on the wings of seeds. Seeds are buried in mud where they remain sleep till spring, and when the spring comes, seedlings sprout again. So the first stanza actually have 2 meanings. The first, it has an apparent meaning, and with apparent meaning it also contains some symbolic meanings. For example, symbolically, the west wind is revolutionary ideas of Shelley, and Shelley wants to destruct the old system which was destructive and useless. He wanted to create a new system of humanity. Thus he personifies the west wind, which destroys as well as preserves. So leaves and seeds reflect the entire life. Life is ever changing, so it is better that old order which has become useless and loses its efficiency should be immediately driven away to make space for the new things. एक्चुअली जो पोइट है, जो पी बी शैले है, वो है रोमांटिक पोइट. ही लव्स नेचर, बट हेयर ही सेज के जो ओल्ड ट्रेडिशंस हैं, ये जो कस्टम्स हैं ओल्ड, हमें उनको छोड़ देना चाहिए. And in the second stanza, poet describes the activities of wind in the air. He imagines a tree whose roots are in the ocean and branches are spread to the sky. He says that loose clouds are moving on the surface of the west wind as dry leaves are dropping down. These clouds are forecast or predict an messenger of storm, दैट इज़ रेन एंड लाइटनिंग। अब ये जो क्लाउड्स आ जाते हैं स्काइज़ के ऊपर, तो हम लोग फ़ौरन से प्रिडिक्ट कर लेते हैं दैट नाउ द रेन और द स्टॉर्म विल कम। ठीक है, तो उसी चीज़ को डिस्क्राइब कर रहा है पोइट इसके अंदर, इस पोएम के अंदर। पहले उन्होंने जो विंड की डिस्ट्रक्शन थी वो लैंड के ऊपर बताई, एंड नाउ ही इज़ डिस्कसिंग अबाउट द एयर। Shelley uses a beautiful simile and compares the dark clouds of sky with the hair of a Maenad, who was a wildly emotional woman, took a part in drinking of Dionysus, the Greek god of wine and revelry. And these clouds covered the whole sky, and they are the forecast of coming storm. Autumn is the end of year, so Shelley calls west wind the morning song of the departing year. West wind has collected all its powers, and it will pour out in hail and rain. Again the poet asks the west wind to continue to listen what the poet has to say. अब सबसे पहले तो पोइट ने बताया कि जो वेस्ट है वो वेस्ट विंड जो है वो किस तरीके के साथ डिस्ट्रक्शन क्रिएट करती है ऑन द लैंड, एंड देन इन द सेकेंड स्टैंजा ही इज़ डिस्कसिंग कि वेस्ट विंड जो है वो कैसे एयर के अंदर डिस्ट्रक्शंस पैदा करती है।